A robot.
Robotics.
What is programming? And then we'll talk about your challenge for today and your problem-solving approach. Okay? And then we'll get to some programming. So that should take us, it's going to be a full day, but most of you all have got programming before, so this should be a good way to jumpstart into learning new stuff. One type of robot is something that looks like a person. So let's talk about that a little bit. So one important thing about robots is that because it's a machine, right, you have to figure out how to program it. And so what people try to think of is how do humans or animals do things, and then try to make the machine do that. So you have sensors. What types of sensors do we have? Sam?
Motion sensors.
Humans. How do we detect that?
What do you mean? Like, how do we?
What are our senses?
Ours would be sight, smell, taste.
Okay, that's enough. John, yeah, more?
Feel.
Touch, right. And what else? Michael? Grayson? Shane?
Sensors.
What type of sense? So he said sight, smell, touch, taste.
There's
Smell.
There's
right.
light sensors which sense objects in the way. Hearing.
Human senses.
Human
Hearing.
senses.
Yes.
How do we do light senses?
Sight,
right? Our eyes and hearing. So those are the main ones, right? Mm-hmm. So in a robot, you have to figure out how to get it to act like a human. So you have to figure out how to get it to sense its environment. And so this year, we'll be playing a little bit with touch, right? You all had on the bump box, you all saw that they already had what they call proximity sensors. That is, if it gets close to something, it could detect that. So that's another way of touching. Actually, bats use proximity sensors for sensing what? Anybody study bats before? Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's where it sends sound, and if it bounces back, and it can detect how.
Right, like a radar. So a bat will emit a sound and detect an object in front of it and then react. So similarly with a robot, we want to be able to have it a way to detect what's around it and then react to it. So we'll be playing with the infrared sensors a little bit, the touch sensors. Then if we could get light sensors to work, we'll try light sensors. Okay? So after a human detects something around it using its senses, what else do we do with that information? What would you want a robot to do?
We would want to, like, if it was like us, and if we saw something like one of those wiffle balls, and if we wanted to pick it up, and we could tell the robot to pick up the wiffle ball.
Right, so you talked about a couple of things there. So you sense what's in the environment, then you make a decision about what you want to do, and then you act on it, you do something, right? So that's really what programming is. You have three parts of programming. The inputs, which is sensing, then the decisions that you make, and then the outputs, which is acting on it. And the outputs could be, like Shane said, move something, go towards something. Like in our case, we have hands, right? We have sound we can make. Those are the main ones that humans do. Everybody know what Gator Boys are?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
What?
so let's look at this.
Gator Boys.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all don't have to click anything, just look up here. Let's fast forward.
Now, grabbing the alligator by the tail, you do have to be careful because the alligator does have the capability of actually spinning and grabbing Jimmy above his elbow.
So look how the gator is moving, because this year I want y'all to make a gator bar.
Sure, run like that. I'm going to stand back here.
Okay.
Now, what he's going to go into is called working. He's going to go what's called working the alligator, which is moving around the alligator, get them to
So make a note of what actions you want the robot to be able to do to mimic an alligator. Right, so what did the alligator do there? Yeah. Snap. But why did it snap? Right, he was getting close to touch it, right? So it's sensing that where he is, it's making a decision on what to do, and it's acting, right? So your challenge this time is to program the scene bot to act like Jimmy's working the alligator, okay? So we'll be using the proximity sensors in front. You touch one proximity sensor, which direction should the robot turn? Towards or away from that sensor?
Away.
Well, what is he doing? If it touches your right side, if Jimmy comes up to the right side of the alligator, what does it do? Turn to the right or the left?
Right.
Turn towards him, right? So the challenge is use the two proximity sensors. We have a left one and a right one. When you get close to the right one, I want you to turn the scene bot to where you are. For the left one, I want you to turn the scene bot to that side also. Okay? So that's your challenge.
Trey, what we're going to do is we're going to show him how to do this. Well, with this alligator.
All right.
That's a Chinese.
So any questions about that?
Nope.
All right. So what things you have to think about when you're programming to act like a gator? I already covered them, so let me see if you're all paying attention. What would be the inputs that you all want to use? Michael, Shane?
The sensors.
Okay. And what would be some of the outputs that you want to use? What do you want it to do? How do you want it to act?
The gator? Or
Yeah. The scene bot to make
Oh.
it act.
when you touch it on one of the sensors, turn it towards where it got touched.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So detect when you get close, and then turn towards the sensor that is touched. Right? So that's your challenge. Okay? So let's get the scene bots out. Okay, so pay attention a little bit. Let's go through the programming.
Okay.
Okay. Michael, you got it? All right, so everybody in a position where they could stop for a minute and listen?
Yep.
Michael, John, Grayson? Okay, so the first thing you want to do is check the switch, and then if the switch is pressed, move, right? So I said a little phrase in the middle there, if the switch is pressed, right? So you have to have a way to decide for the robot to think about, let me look at the switch, see if it's pressed. If it's pressed, I want to do something. So remember last year, and so you probably don't remember because it was a long time ago, but I'll show you what to do there. So let's just do it with some sound. So instead of proximity, let's do a switch. So if we wanted to do the same thing and say, check switch 3, right? And now the if statement is down here in flow control. Remember that?
No.
Which one did you do?
Under branch, this branch control box is where you say if something is true or not. Remember that?
No.
Okay, so this is called a branch control. Sometimes it's called an if-else statement, which says you're going to make a decision and you're going to say if one thing is happening, else something else, right? So that's what this is. So you want to say if switch 3 is pressed, do something. So let's just make a sound in this case so we can test if we have the logic right. So under the if box, when you click here, you will say, what do you want it to look at? And so you see here, it's variables, right? It's looking at a variable. You don't have any variables defined here. So we didn't talk about variables this time, but last time I think we talked about it a little bit. So what you want to do is when you want a program to think about something, you have to store it away somewhere so the program knows what it's thinking about. Okay? So if I tell you, if you do 10 things, you get a reward, you have to have some way to remember how many things you did, right? It's the same with a computer. You have to have some way of telling it to remember that. So the switch here is under the variable 1, 2, 3 sample variable, right? And it's a switch 3. So we're saying on the decision, if that sample variable is 0, then you want it to make a sound, right? If not, you don't want it to do anything. Now remember with the computer, it goes fast through this thing, so you want it to keep checking that loop. You want it to keep going through it over and over and over again, right? So what you really want to do is take that block and put it into a loop statement. Right? So the loop forever says, keep checking that switch over and over again until I tell you to stop. Okay? So let me borrow this one.
Get it now.
So should I try to do it, Mr.
Oh,
David?
he has a robot.
Let's try this.
And what do you press to make it upload?
The one with the arrow up on top here. That
The
says
lightning
lower.
bolt?
Lightning bolt with the arrow.
Okay.
So what does the loop do again?
The loop just says repeat this over and over again until I tell you to stop. So it says loop forever on top. That just tells it keep checking the switch. So I just uploaded that, right? So the robot is not doing anything. It's waiting to check to see that switch is pressed. I'm telling it if the switch is pressed, make a noise, right? If the switch is not pressed, it does nothing, right?
Okay.
So how would you use this for the robot challenge? You wanted to check the switch, keep checking the switch. If the switch gets pressed, what do you want it to do for the gator bot? You want it to turn, right? Right? Behave like the alligator. So if the switch is pressed, turn. Right? So let's try that. So copy that program.
Wait,
And then instead of making a sound, figure out how to make it move. Yes.
can we just see if our program works? Because we
Sure.
have a lot.
Sure, yeah, that's fine. You think you got it? Let me.
And I
It's a projector.
It's able to read what you've got there.
Okay, don't drink by the feet, please. Over there.
All right, anytime you're ready to run it.
He's a gator boy. We just need to give him a
Look,
hat.
guys, look, we have a gator boy over here. Come, do it again.
Come on, Jimmy. Come on, Jimmy.
Yeah,
Tease the
come on.
gator. Sense it.
How'd you do that?
Well, this is what you guys need to
He
do.
has sensors on his.
There.
The proximity or the
Yeah,
switch?
proximity.
If
I
I
know
had
you do.
sensors on mine, I could do. I put a loop in here, and then I put a switch 3 in here, and then a branch, and I put like a move for the left wheel, and then I did another switch, and then a branch, and in the true, I put a forward distance on both wheels, and then I put another switch, and it was switch 5, and then a branch, and then another move, only this one is the right wheel, so it can turn both ways. And I got that all inside that loop. So if you press switch 3, it'll like turn left or whatever. And then like switch 4 will make it go forward. Oh man,
So I found the cables in.
I kind of messed it up.
All right, good job.
Everything's the same, and we just did on the, so earlier it was left sensor, now we did a right, and same thing except different direction.
The whole wheel around.
Last one, it's not quite working, but when you do both, it goes forward, and we're going to change that so that it can be more
It's not
speed.
precise, but it's approximate. And I think they said in this version they're making it
60, okay. And then we're going to test it out again.
Hey John, I need out.